I am Marcus Blake with That Nerd Show here at the 2018 Dallas International Film Festival, and we are talking about the film Frame by Frame, Remixing the News, and I am going to let the directors introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Bart Weiss. I produce the show.
I'm Gordon K. Smith, one of the segment creators.
Carmen, Menza, filmmaker.
Madison, McMakin, a filmmaker.
Now, remixing the news, there's just so many connotations behind that, but I understand that a lot of this was getting into the archives at SMU and stuff. So tell us a little bit about how this project started.
Okay, so there's a really great archive at SMU, and they were given all of the news footage from Channel 8, which they digitized, and then they gave 1.3 terabytes of that to me, and I gave it to all of these guys to play with it, find something interesting with it, and contextualize it in an interesting kind of way. And all of them found a way to look at what was there and make it relevant to today.
Okay. What are some of the most interesting stories that you found that do relate to today's news that you found?
Well, they're not so much stories per se, but ideas. So Madison took the idea of how men and women were portrayed. You want to talk about that?
So in my piece, I talked about sort of the dichotomy and the symbolism of how they showed women and how they showed men in leadership positions, and the women were all in pageantry and cooking and whatnot. And I thought that was super interesting and something that we needed to talk about, because it's changed today, but you still see in the media how we are shown and portrayed.
Do you feel like it's still very much a man's world in media?
I think you got to fight for what you want still, for sure.
It's changing. It's changing.
I agree.
Carmen's piece took the same idea, but a little more like beyond 10.
Yeah, so the title of my film is Beyond 10, and it's a statement on common practice of men rating women on a scale of 1 to 10. And there's plenty of footage that I found in the archives of men doing just that with pen and paper, and women with paper bags over their heads. So my film is really a statement on misogyny, both past and even present too, because it has current quotes from the leaders of our nations, leader of our nation and other people in power that are very misogynistic. So things have changed, and in some respects things have not changed.
But you should also note that Carmen also wrote and performed the music for that piece.
Oh, wow, okay.
So it's kind of a music video, basically.
Any kind of influences that go into the music?
Oh, I don't know. I used Beyonce for a temp track, but I am far from Beyonce, trust me.
Yeah, good point. Good.
Gordon, how about your film?
My film is called Lawmen Cowpokes, and it's a mashup of the image of Dallas and old Hollywood westerns and the image of Dallas lawmen circa 60s and 70s that I found in this footage, and I decided to kind of mix the two up there. I use none of the original audio of the WFAA footage. All the audio is music and voiced from these public domain Western trailers of the 40s, 30s, 40s, very early 50s.
Oh, wow. Tell me one of the best Westerns that you used.
Well, there actually is a 1949 Western called Dallas, starring Gary Cooper, which I've always loved, because it pictures Dallas as this Wild West town with sheriffs and shootouts and outlaws in an era before, when Dallas was just barely actually getting created. It started as a city.
Nice, interesting.
And, also footage of the cattle yards in Dallas and Fort Worth, and used some audio from Red River trailer, from some other trailers about cattle drives.
What do you hope that people get out of all this project?
What do people hope? Hope they think about, when they're watching the news, what people will think 20, 30, 40 years ago, what's going on. And also that some of the issues that we're facing now are issues that we faced before, certainly issues of race, issues of sexuality, and economic disparity. I mean, it's clear that all of these things were there in the 60s and the 70s, and the news caught them. They haven't changed much. Our perception of them has changed, but the roots of what was there are still there. And what's really wonderful is to see them reinterpreted through a modern sensibility and made into television, which I think is really wonderful.
Interesting. All right, well, here at That Nerd Show, we end our interviews with a very nerdy question. So your inner nerd gets to come out a little bit, and I'm very curious what each of you would say with this. If you could have a superpower or some kind of weapon of choice from the nerd universe, like a lightsaber, phaser, Thor's hammer, anything to fight the forces of evil, what would it be for you personally? And we're going to start with you.
Okay. I would be invisible because I think that's the best power a journalist can have. Fly on the wall, literally.
Oh, absolutely.
Actually, invisible would be my choice also.
I'm already afraid of you too.
As tempting as that is, I've always dreamed about being a master of every language on Earth, so I could communicate with every country on Earth.
That's a great one too. We've never had anybody answer the question that way. You did. How about you, Bart?
I don't know. You know, when you're doing documentary work, being invisible is kind of an important part of blending in, unless you reveal things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to see. I'll go with that.
Very interesting. Well, thank you very much for interviewing with us. Great project. Can't wait to see more from it. Thank you.